good morning and welcome to the start of another long distance route, the Borders Abbeys Way, and we're right outside Melrose Abbey in the heart of the town of Melrose. I'm not going to visit it today. I don't think it's open quite yet, but hopefully we'll visit another abbey today on the route. So this is a circular route, about 60 miles in total. So there's no official start, but Melrose is as good a place as any. And we're only doing about 7 miles or so today. I'll have a look at it from the outside. Well, hopefully on the return to Melrose we'll go in and have a look at the building here, although they're obviously worried about falling masonry with all the Harris fencing around it just at the moment. So the route does a circuit of the Borders towns, so Melrose, Kelso, Jedburgh and Hawick, and returns back to Melrose via the Tweed. Really pretty town here, Melrose. I've been here a few times, but it should be a hub for hikers with the St Cuthbert's Way, the Borders Abbeys Way, the Southern Upland Way, and now hopefully in a couple of years time the Tweed Trail that will come through here. But anyway, we'll get going, and there's the first way marker, so we'll see you on the trail. So probably talk more about the history of Melrose Abbey when we come back, but it was actually established as a Cistercian monastery around 1136, and it's actually related to, I can never pronounce this place particularly correctly. I think it's Revel. Is it Revel Abbey in Yorkshire?
Revel, yeah.
Revel.
Yeah, I think so.
It's one of those words that I have no idea whether I'm pronouncing it correctly. But it was a branch of that abbey, Cistercian monks. It's a burial place of a couple of kings. In fact, King Alexander II is buried there. And also the heart of Robert Bruce was buried there. The main part of his body is in Dunfermline Abbey, just on the north side of the Forth. Morning.
Morning.
But his heart was apparently removed from his body and placed in a lead casket and taken on crusade. And it's actually, this is probably the only time I'm going to mention the film Braveheart. Braveheart actually doesn't refer to William Wallace. Braveheart was a reference to Robert the Bruce because his heart was taken on crusade. And now I'm going to paraphrase here, but one of his leaders and friends, a man called James Douglas, apparently threw that lead casket into battle so he could follow his king, essentially lead on Braveheart. But it was brought back here and buried in Dunfermline, in Melrose Abbey rather. The casket was discovered, I think, in the 1920s, and then again in renovations later on in the 20th century, but it's generally thought to be the heart of Robert the Bruce. And very quickly we're out the town. So Melrose isn't a particularly big place, and there's loads of history here as well. The Eildon Hills, which have featured a lot, particularly in the walks, the border station walks, have been a familiar landmark in a lot of visits to the borders, known as Trimontium, by the Romans. Roman signal station on top. There were probably earlier forts up there, but there's a massive Roman fort just to the east of here. That was known as Trimontium. It was a hugely important centre for the Romans. Right at on, I think it's Deer Street, so that Roman road that runs down the east of the UK. But that's actually another walk from the Border Station Walks book from Tweed Bank. So we'll get onto that later and actually visit the site of the fort as well. We don't quite get there on this route today. No faces at the doors. This little place is Newstead, the oldest inhabited village in Scotland apparently. And it seems to be because of its relationship to the Roman fort Trimontium. Now that was the Roman headquarters in Scotland. In fact, apparently where all distances were measured from in Scotland. It's a hugely important centre. So this would likely have been a little settlement at the edge of the fort that just persisted through the centuries. The embankment here to the right is actually part of the old Waverley route, the railway line that ran from Edinburgh to Carlisle. It's been reopened up to Tweed Bank, which if you've been following the Border Station Walk series you'll realise, but there is talk of re-establishing it all the way to Carlisle. I hope it does eventually, but one of the big challenges is from Tweed Bank to Melrose, they actually built a bypass along the route of the old track bed, mostly so you can see the old bridge. You can probably hear the road in the background. Particularly the bypass of Melrose. So, the old station still exists, just not with a railway running through it, but a road. It's in a remarkable state of preservation. So whether we'll actually see the railway re-established remains to be seen, but it would be great to have it back. Make a huge difference to the borders towns as well, I suspect. There we are, the Eildon Hills, or one of the hills anyway. So top of there, there's a Roman signal station, and directly behind where I'm stood, opposite to the way I'm looking, was the site of the Roman fort, so not far away. So heading up to this road, this originally was the main route between Melrose and, oh, I can't remember the name of the place. Not Newstead. The name will come back to me anyway. But the road that was built along the line of the railway bypassed this itself, and it's completely closed now between the two towns. Just open for cyclists, walkers and horse riders. And as you can see, a rather big equestrian area this, down here in the Borders. So the stone there was a stone erected to commemorate a man called Thomas the Thomas the Rhymer, rather. A man called Sir Thomas the Ercildown. He was sometimes known as Thomas Learmont or True Thomas. And he was a laird from a place called Ercildown in the Borders. And he apparently had the gift of prophecy. I don't know whether he was related to the Reverend Robert Kirk. I'll pop a link up on the screen for that story if you've been following Rob Roy and the Fairy Hill up at Aberfoyle. But apparently he was abducted by the Queen of Fairies, hello dog, or the Queen of Elfland I should say, and he returned having the gift of prophecy, and he was also unable to tell a lie, which I guess might have been a bit of an issue for him. And the tale actually survives in some medieval manuscripts. And there is a popular ballad called Thomas Rhymer. Don't know why I keep saying River. So he lived throughout the 13th century. And actually Thomas was summoned back to Elfland after the appearance of a sign in the form of a milk white hart and hind. And he does appear in fairy tale or folk tale anthologies as well. And it's I'm pretty sure the legend was recorded by Sir Walter Scott as well. Well, let's just pause for a moment. Look at this landscape, wow. Excuse my shoddy camera work, but I'll twist round. There we go, I remembered the name of the town, mainly because I looked at the map. Newton St Boswell's. The St Cuthbert's Way actually runs through here as well. St Cuthbert's starts in Melrose, heads up right over the gap in the Eildon Hills, and comes here by way of a slightly longer route. It's actually a nice little stop. There's if it's still here, it's been a while since I've been here, but there's a cracking little sandwich shop on the route. But we're going to continue through. It'll take us down towards the Tweed, across the Tweed, and then down to Dryburgh Abbey, which I'm quite looking forward to. I've never actually been there, so hopefully it is open, despite being early December. Wonder if this was the old station building actually. What a lovely little place this is. Got a real old world feel to it. Wouldn't be surprised if this was a medieval road layout or street layout here. Narrow streets, ramshackle buildings, lovely. The Bowden burn just off to the right, and that flows into the Tweed. We'll be down there in a second, so it's only a short distance. We're walking with the St Cuthbert's Way, and then we'll cross the river. The St Cuthbert stays on this side, but we're maybe about a mile away from Dryburgh Abbey, if that. This was one of the first routes I ever blogged back when I was actually writing these things all the way back in 2011, I think it was. Wow, 14 years ago, is that right? Really, 14 years ago. Lovely, yeah. Sewage treatment works. We walked it at this time of year, around February. It was a really cold snap as well. River in Spate. The other thing about these two routes is that they were very well waymarked, if I remember rightly, so hopefully nothing's changed in the meantime, but the plan is to walk the Borders Abbeys Way over, I think, 5 or 6 stages over the next couple of months, hopefully. I'll never get time. There's the River Tweed just poking out through the trees.
It looks well used locally.
Yeah. I think the ground's taking a bit of a beating with the water level, it seems like. Just this would be gorgeous in the spring though.
Yeah, yeah.
There we go. River Tweed in the Eildon Hills. Isn't that fantastic?
Which way do we go to the left?
To the right.
To the right.
Yeah. Well, the left's the quick way down.
Ah, right. This looks the
Yeah.
easy one.
So I say goodbye to the St Cuthbert's Way here, heading over this bridge. The Temple of the Muses is a tribute to James Thomson, a Borders poet who loved the natural world. His most famous work, The Seasons, described the countryside in a way that broke with the tradition of his time and set the scene for later romantics like Keats and Wordsworth. In a very different style, he is also credited with the words to Rule Britannia. Thomson lived from 1700 to 1748. His poems were popular long after his death. The Earl of Buchan, who was a great admirer of his works, had the temple built in 1817. It originally sheltered a statue of Apollo and was part of a grand scheme for the Earl's estate. There we go, Dryburgh Abbey. Founded back in 1150 as well. Destroyed mainly by the English by the 1550s, and almost total decline. There was a yew tree here which dates back to the 1100s as well, so older than the Abbey in fact, and well, Must be one of the oldest living things in Scotland. There is one older, I think about 3,000 years old, up at a place called Fortingham. This is gorgeous. It's the final resting place of Field Marshal Haig, one of the most famous or notorious commanders of the First World War. He's got a bit of a reputation, as did most of the commanders in the First World War, whether deserved or not. I think the old saying was lions led by donkeys now. To a certain extent, that's probably not that true. He was a man who did care about the men under his command. Unfortunately, the First World War was a tragedy of epic proportions, where old style warfare met modern industry effectively, destroyed a generation. Just behind the glass here, they've protected some original paintings. Dating back to around the 13th century. And this is the chapter house in the Abbey. Really the only complete buildings in the Abbey itself. Nearly 1,000 years old. Wow. Planted before the abbey was established. Spin round. Right, I'm probably taking my life in my hands here, but it's going to be interesting coming back down. Right, I'll see you back at the bottom. Couple of walkers on the St Cuthbert's Way. They look like they're backpacking it as well. On the other side. This is just wonderful. We're only maybe a mile or so from where we're stopping for the day. The village of Clintmains, so we'll be maybe another half hour or so to get there, and that'll mean stage 2 of the Borders Abbeys Way between Clintmains and Kelso. It'll be around 10 miles in total, I expect, so we'll see when we are able to do that. Hopefully I can get out a bit more regularly now. This has been a fantastic day, not perfect weather by any means, but there's been a little bit of sun, a little bit of rain, and it's been a nice cool temperature, not too cold, but perfect walking weather. This is just fabulous. They're either albino herons or egrets of some kind. I thought they were barn owls for a second there. There are definitely some kind of egret. Completely white. Just turn it so we get the Tweed in there as well. So this has been a fantastic day's walking. This, even though it's quite a short section, I think maybe about a maximum of 7 miles or so. It's been lovely. Weather always does help. But great little route out of Melrose, up over the old road, past the Rhymer stone, or Thomas the Rhymer. Now the walk along the Tweed's just been fantastic as well, and not to mention the visit to Dryburgh Abbey, which I think was really worthwhile. I'm looking forward to editing all of that together actually, which you'll have seen in the past. Now I've talked about it, so right, anyway, I'll stop rambling nonsense. So the bridge down there, well, at this junction there's a link to the St Cuthbert's Way, so potentially you could use this route as an alternative if you wanted to visit Dryburgh on the St Cuthbert's Way, and it's a lovely alternative, so whatever takes your fancy really. I don't know how much you'll see through the trees here. I'll maybe scan along, see if we can get it a bit more open, but wonderful view of the Eildons in the background, and the Tweed meandering away there in the foreground. Brilliant. It's been a good day.
Yeah, yeah.
There we are, destination for the day, Clintmains. So all we need to do now is wait for the bus back to Melrose. Don't see too many of these around nowadays. the old petrol pumps. I guess these haven't been used in some time. Well, once again, that just about brings us to the end of day one of the Borders Abbeys Way. What a great day it's been. Hope you've enjoyed this walk with us today. If you have, please give us a thumbs up below, even leave a comment below, or even consider subscribing. And again, thanks for watching, and see you on the trail soon. Bye for now.